Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the mid-November version of Topic Time with Harrison Young. Well, I got to tell you, I'm watching the news and I'm seeing parts of the country looking like one of those paperweights with white stuff everywhere, but it's not so bad here, and I'm not complaining. So let's have a nice show tonight. Got a great guest. Got to read these underwriters. Got some new ones, and then we'll have a show, as usual, another wonderful guest. So we have not as many as last time, though. We have Western Carpet and Rugs in Norwell. We got good old Dave's Automotive in Hanson on Route 58. We got a new one, Richie's Auto Care in Hanover. We got Fiesta Char, a family Mexican restaurant down the road here in Carver. We got Eagle Gas Auto with repairs of cars, foreign and domestic, and the good service that whenever you need it, right down the road here in Carver also. And we got something for your dust, the Antiques and Curios shop in Plymouth. And I want to thank you guys very much. And on that note, now we will introduce the guests and have the show. So this beautiful young lady, it's been a while since I've had someone as exquisite as this young lady on the show. I've had very good-looking people on, but she definitely stops traffic with her eyes, and I got to tell you, when I walked in here the night, I'd never seen her in person. We've been Facebook friends for a long time. She's a beautiful lady. She's a model. She's an actress, but she's lately changed careers. First, I will introduce her. This is Jamie Tucker.
Hi, Harrison. Thanks for having me. We finally meet.
We finally meet. We finally get to do the show. I've been trying to get you on for a few years. And she's a mom too, and I believe, as I recall, as we mentioned, I had her scheduled for like one day, maybe 2 years ago. Then she went and had another child, and we had to postpone it. And I got to tell you, at that time, I never thought I'd ever get you in here.
Right, just all of a sudden one day, another child.
But like fine wine, everything happens in its time.
Yeah.
And a new child as well. Right. You can draw a parallel if you like. I'm very philosophical like that. So, like I said, we're gonna focus on you tonight. Where to begin? Well, like with all my guests, I try to go backtrack to people's childhoods and find out what they were like as kids. Now, what you told me a few minutes ago is that you actually are a Canadian by birth. You were born in what, Vancouver, Canada?
I was born in Vancouver, Canada.
British Columbia.
Yep,
right.
Beautiful British Columbia.
Okay, so talk about growing up and where you migrated to, where it got you, how it got you there, and and I'll feed you the questions as I see fit, so go ahead.
Perfect. So yes, I was born in Vancouver.
Yep.
And I grew up loving horses.
Okay.
Loving fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wanted to do something in those industries, but I just didn't know what.
Okay.
So as I got a little bit older, around 13, 14, I started getting approached by different modeling agents in like shopping malls, the traditional
This is still in
stores.
Canada, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'd be out with my mom and we'd be at the mall, and agents would come up. And so at the time there was really not a whole lot of fashion in Vancouver or modeling, but there was a lot of acting going on. But that wasn't something that interested me then.
Okay.
So as I did a few things locally, did some shoots, build up a little bit of a book, and then the only natural step for a model, no matter what city that you're living in, is to travel overseas to like Milan or Tokyo, Paris or London. And at that stage of life, my parents weren't willing to let me do it.
Well, I got a quick question for you right off the bat. Now, when you say you walk into shopping malls and people would come up to you giving you the business card and saying, I represent such and such an agency, would you like to model for me, correct?
Well, they were agents and say, have you ever thought about modeling?
Okay.
So we would research them,
Yeah,
and
I
they
guess I
would
was
be
going to ask you,
legitimate.
did you research them to make sure they were legit on level, not trying to rip, make money off, take advantage of a young girl who had, career intentions, to only to be scammed out of her life savings before she turned 20? I mean, that's basically
right. I mean, that does happen. So
of
that's
course it happens.
a great
That's why
question.
I'm asking. But obviously that wasn't the case for you.
That didn't happen in this case. But for me, my ability to really kind of move forward in that industry was very limited.
Okay.
Because my parents weren't willing to let me go.
They weren't willing to take it to Italy.
Right,
Okay.
right. Send like a 16-year-old girl overseas by herself. So I had to actually wait until I was a little bit older. I'd say probably about 20.
Yeah.
And by then I had started going down to California because I just loved it there, and I had friends down there, and I actually went to college.
Where'd you go to college?
I went to Cal State Long Beach.
Okay.
And I majored in healthcare administration.
Say again, slowly. Healthcare
administration.
Okay. Did you have an intention of becoming a nurse at any time?
At one point I did think I was going to become a nurse, and I
Okay.
did a clinical internship, and as I was rounding I realized that the clinical side of healthcare wasn't for me, but
Okay.
I still loved the industry and had a passion for it, so I decided to switch majors into the administration. And I ended up working for the company that I had initially done the clinical volunteer work for, and I started managing some of their programs.
Okay.
So the healthcare consulting company was based in Los Angeles. Well, they're still there.
Right.
And I was part of their health workforce development team. So we had client hospitals and healthcare organizations, and we would assess what their workforce needs were, projecting into the future, because California, like a lot of states, has a lot of different regulations.
Right.
So you're there at that time in order to get full reimbursements. Your patient demographic had to match your workforce.
Okay.
So depending on, different minority groups and languages, they had to hire people that were specific to the patients that they saw. So we would help assess those needs and then create recruitment pipelines and college scholarship programs to help plug the right types of people to fill those positions.
Okay, yeah. It's a little over my head what you're telling me, and that's fine.
So that's what I was doing, and at
Okay.
the same time, I had done some modeling prior to that.
Okay, I was going to ask you, you didn't lose the modeling bug just
No.
because you took up, a major in nursing at Cal State, correct?
No.
Okay.
So I started college a little bit later than the average person. I had been doing some modeling, and I'd been in Asia and Europe, and
So you actually did go over there to model at some point
yes,
when you were in
when
your
I
early
was
20s?
old enough. And without my parents' consent, I was able to
Right,
do it on my
you were
own.
not a minor any longer, so
Right.
okay. I
And-
still hope they were supportive.
Of course.
Okay,
oh yeah,
good.
they're wonderful people. I feel so blessed to have the parents
That's
that I
awesome. Okay.
have. So yeah, it was just, I was there. I've kind of been in and out of the industry my whole life because I love the fashion. I love the creativity of it. I
Right.
love creating things with teams of people on projects. But I also like to have a certain level of control over my own career trajectory. And I think a lot of people in the acting and modeling world could agree that there's a certain element that's out of your control. So I would get kind of, I don't know, I get a little stir crazy sometimes when I was overseas because I'd just be twiddling my thumbs waiting for castings and callbacks and shoots to be booked.
Well,
And-
all right, now let's break it down a little bit. You're telling me about modeling.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where does the acting come in? Did you did you kind of get bitten by the acting bug when you went overseas as well?
No. So,
Okay.
so even though I lived in Los Angeles and I
Right.
was modeling there and overseas and I went to school, I grew up in Vancouver, which is also a film industry center.
Okay.
I was not interested in acting until I moved to New England. So,
Interesting. And when was that? How long
I
ago?
moved here about 9 years ago.
Okay. And why did you move to New
I
England?
moved for love.
Oh, your husband?
My husband is from Massachusetts.
Beautiful. Okay.
So that's what brought me to New England, and I had never been before. I'd spent a lot of time in New York City.
Right. Doing more modeling and
Modeling and
whatnot.
just traveling there.
Okay.
It's a great city to visit.
Yep.
And so when I met this gentleman and he was from the East Coast, I thought, I could give that a try. I like New York, and
Okay.
it was my first time to New England. And when we went into our town, he showed me his town for the first time. I just fell in love with the region.
Just curious, is that Long Meadow?
It is.
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
It's a beautiful town.
It is.
Going down the green and seeing the church steeple and all the old homes.
Well, I've been through Long Meadow, yeah, and
Yeah.
it sounds to me like even though you got bitten by the modeling bug as a child, and you were living in a kind of a cosmopolitan area, which is Vancouver. You got approached by people that said that you should model, and of course that enticed you to want to do it even more. So then you moved to California, and you picked up the incentive to do something else, and that was a good paying career, but you still never lost your yen for modeling.
Right.
And then you found yourself going to Europe and Asia, and then you settled in a small town in New England, which is kind of like nothing like any of those other places.
Right.
So, and yet somehow you managed to tie it all together and keep it going, in spite of the fact that you were now living in the sticks, thousands of miles far removed from anything that's with anything with more of a population than 50,000 people.
It was a culture shock.
But it was worth it, though.
It was worth it.
Of course it was.
We always end up where we're supposed to be in life.
I always say that.
And
Everything happens for a reason.
Right.
Yep.
And it was hard at first. I'll be candid with you. Particularly that community is a very family-centered community. It's a wonderful
Well,
place
you're
to raise
family-centered
kids.
too.
I am, but at the time I didn't have any children.
Right. Okay. But now you have
So
no choice.
now
to
I
be
have
but to be family-centered.
Right. So
Right.
now I have a couple kids, and it's a wonderful place, and
Okay.
I love raising my kids there. And so even after my first daughter was born, I continued to model.
Cool.
When she was almost 2, I actually had a contract opportunity to go to Milan.
Okay.
At this stage of late life, for
This
the
was
modeling.
but you'd already been to Milan and you'd already been to those
Right,
Europe and
but I had
Asia.
a chance to do it again,
Okay.
and I thought I'm going to give this a try. And typically they want you to go over there for a few months.
Okay.
And I thought,
A
well,
paid gig, right? A nice.
well, you go over there and you start going to you see clients and you book work when you're there.
I see what you
You're
mean.
not paid to go over there.
No, but you can make your own. But you can. But if you have what it takes, you can probably get assignments, paid assignments for yourself.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So
You freelance basically.
Right,
Okay.
right. You get over there, the agency brings you over because they think that the clients in their city are going to want to work with you.
Great. Okay.
So I went over there and I said, there's no way I can come for 3 months. I have a child at home. So they said, well, let's try a month and see what happens.
Okay.
After 3 weeks, I changed my ticket and I came home.
Okay.
It was
you
just-
missed your family.
It was too much, but
Right.
there was still, the access to New York and Boston, and that's when I started getting
Acting.
the acting
Okay.
bug.
So what happened? So tell me. Let's move forward with the acting. What did you do for acting?
Well, I have trained with a couple of acting studios and casting studios here in Boston.
You want to name them?
Well, I'd say Boston Casting is excellent.
I knew that.
CP Casting, Slate Casting.
Okay.
I trained with
All the big ones in the area.
Yeah,
Yep.
amazing talent out
Yep.
here. I trained with Strayon Acting Studios.
Okay.
You may have had some guests on here that have worked with Strayon before.
No, not unlikely.
Oh yeah, they're really great, and for me, it really was a creative outlet that needed to be filled.
Of course.
Working in the acting world, and it kind of went from me putting my passions into the modeling, into the acting, because there was just more I could give of myself.
True that. Yeah. Plus, now what about today? I know that you told me that you've sort of abandoned both those careers, at least for now. But I'm sitting here looking at you, and I get the feeling that at some point in the future, when your children are a little older and maybe slightly more independent, I think you're going to go back to it. I just get that feeling.
Well,
I'm just reading you. I read people well, and that's what I'm getting from you right now.
Well, I always like to keep
that's
my
just
doors
speculation
open.
only. Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
I understand.
We're on the same wavelength.
Yes. Okay.
I do from time to time will work for direct booking. Sometimes my agency will call me and say, this client would like to hire you. Are you available? And I'll say yes.
For modeling.
Yes,
Okay.
or acting.
Or act. Okay. So what I want you to do, before we go to what you're currently doing, you're gonna tell me about your website because you sent me an email. I know you're into fashion now, fashion
Right.
designing, correct?
Fashion blogging.
Blogging. Okay,
Yeah.
it's a blog you got. But before you do that, I want you to tell me what films, if any films that you've been in, just kind of let's go over them real quick, and then we'll go to your fashion blog.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
I've done a lot of featured background work in some bigger films.
Okay, you want to name them? It's up to you.
Yes.
Go ahead.
If you watch the movie White Chicks, the
Okay.
runway scene at the end of the film there, you'll see me in that. A little more recently, I did American Hustle, which was really cool. It was filmed here in Boston.
Yes, I heard.
David O. Russell, the Academy Award-winning director, actually spoke to me and directed me on the film.
Okay, what did you do in that?
There was a scene where Amy Adams is walking through the 1970s Cosmopolitan office.
You were probably just born in the 1970s.
Well, not quite.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She's walking through the office, and there's a photo shoot going on with a Cosmopolitan swimsuit model. So that was me. And I spent the entire day shooting that. I was sitting at a vanity desk, putting
Okay.
on makeup, as part of the scene. And then Harrison, as it so often happens, watch the movie, blink and you'll miss me. But I swear you can see. that
Oh, yeah.
But that's kind of the way.
And if
sometimes.
you blink, you rewind it till you do find
Right,
you in there.
that's sometimes what happens with the film
Okay. I
industry.
know. I've
but
been an extra in a couple of big films too.
it was pretty cool though
Yep.
to be able to experience working with people
So
like that.
was this your last film project? Is this to date?
No, since then I've worked on a few independent
Independent
films here and
films,
there.
too?
I've done a lot of commercial work.
Uh,
Continue to do commercials.
When you say commercial work, you're talking about TV commercials? Okay, well, just what commercials were you in
Well,
for?
I'm
for
shooting something for Wayfair coming up
Okay.
soon. That's one of the things about Boston that really surprised me when I moved here is just how much work there is. There are so many corporations out
Yep.
here that are based here. And the budgets, I think, are a little more reasonable than in New York. So many productions choose to film here in Boston. We certainly have all the resources here.
Well, it
So
seems like
it's-
in the last 20 years or so, I would say there's been more opportunity for film work in our area than ever before.
Right.
Because of, the tax incentives, plus when I, in 22 years ago, had my first role as an extra in Amistad. I played a member of the House of Representatives in 1839. Spielberg flew east from L.A., just so he could, so he didn't have to get to hire extras. He didn't have to pay his regular cast people full money, full full salary that he would pay them if they were shooting it out there. And he also fired me from the scene that we did. But well, I fought part of the line because I said something that sounded like 20th century jargon, and it was supposed to be 1839.
Oh, really?
But that was it was. But hey, listen. It was he cost himself a cut and print by not instructing me ahead of time to make sure at 37 at the time and a half at 1997. I should have been, he should have explained, don't talk like you're in the 20th century.
Right.
Talk like this the 19th century. So I just figured I'd throw that in for effect.
It makes a great story.
Oh, of course it does. That's why I tell it. Now, any particular people that you've worked with specifically that everybody, that are household names that you want to mention, and then we're going to go to your blog.
Well, specifically, have I interacted
You mentioned Amy Adams already.
Well, she was there in the scene. I was not acting with her.
Okay.
She was just walking
But
through.
you were with her.
Well, she was there.
All right,
I've seen
well,
her.
the names
I feel like I've probably seen more celebrities in person when I was out living in LA
Okay.
than I have maybe on film sets, because out there they're just everywhere. But there are a lot of those here too now with all the production that's been going on.
That's absolutely correct. So let's talk about your blog now. Go for it.
So, after one of the reasons I didn't appear on the show was because I was raising children. And
Right, my show a couple of years ago.
Right,
Well, you got more
years ago.
stuff to talk about now, so it's even better. So go on.
It is even better, and
course.
this is. I feel like all my work experience. I have my MBA, so working with the healthcare consulting company, working in the fashion industry, it's all culminated in this. Basically, this entrepreneurial endeavor that I'm undergoing right now, which I feel like
it obviously isn't affecting your family life. It seems like you seem like you found a way to fit it all in.
Yeah, it's a little more flexible. Don't get me wrong; it takes a lot of time,
of course it does.
especially the
Commit
social
yourself
media.
And stuff. Yeah.
But it's more flexible, and I can do it from my own home. So the
Wow.
blog, I had started my Instagram account up some time ago.
Okay.
And I literally didn't touch it for a year when my second daughter was born. And for some reason, about 6 months ago, I decided that I wanted to maybe try and start doing something creatively. So where do you turn nowadays? You turn to social media. And I was looking at what people were doing on Instagram, and I'd always liked reading blogs, and I'd always, of course, loved fashion. I've expressed that already. I've been reading Vogue since I was 12.
Okay.
So I thought, why can't I do something like this? And so I started up my Instagram, and I spoke to a few different web development companies, and I decided that I wanted to work with a company that was very good at what they did. So I settled with, I selected to work with Smash Creative, who has
I love
done.
the name. It's obvious you did your research too.
I did, and they've actually designed some websites for some of the most successful bloggers in that space. Some of their clients.
See, I don't know much about blogging. I know that some people are great at it, and it's all about presenting something to the world. And the more people take the bait, the better you are at it. And I'm guessing from what you're doing, from what you're telling me, yours is doing pretty well.
Well, I feel like what I'm trying to do is create a bit of a community.
Okay.
Not necessarily, yes, it's my blog, but I don't want it to be just about me. I'm trying to provide
I know that.
real life inspiration, a community where women can, work together
Just
to kind
women?
of support each other. I would say it's primarily
Okay, that's fine.
female-based.
Okay,
Yeah.
believe me, I don't feel discriminated against. Just the fact that you're on my show proves that you have no problem with hanging with men in some instances.
No problem at all. You're more than welcome to sign up for my email list and subscribe.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I'm going to come in a tutu and see how it looks on your blog.
It might be helpful for you if you're looking for gifts for women and things like that. There'll be some inspiration.
I got to have a woman before I can get gifts for her. You can find me a woman, and then we'll talk the next step.
Okay.
But go ahead. But this is your talk about the blog and how does it work. And first of all, when did you start it? How long ago?
Well, actually, I've been working on it for the last few months.
Okay,
but my
so
blog
you started
launched,
it this year?
Yes, I
Okay.
started a few months ago, but it launched last week. Actually, today is
Congratulations.
1 week anniversary.
And isn't that awesome? I mean, here you are right after you launching your blog on my show.
Yes.
2 years ago, you probably didn't even know you were ever going to be doing it.
I had no idea.
Bingo. And bingo.
Right.
Like I said, everything happens for a reason and in its time.
Right.
Wow.
So it's been a lot of work, but it's been a lot of fun.
Of course.
I've started up a feature on the site called She Styled It.
Okay.
So I want to work with other women. I don't.
By the way, the calligraphy is terrific.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. Is it yours?
Well, you can thank Smash Creative
Hey,
for that.
Smashy! Smashy. Oh, okay.
They designed
I love that
it.
name. I got to meet these people just to see if, I don't know, maybe I get them on my show. I wouldn't mind interviewing somebody that with a name like that, it sounds like they'd be pretty cool to interview.
Yeah, I
At
think
the very
they're-
least, seemingly bohemian.
Right. Well, they're
Yeah.
on the west. They're on the west coast.
Oh, they are.
They
but
are.
thanks to the internet, you can work with them
You
right
can
out of
work
your
with
house.
anyone. I actually just, because things have ramped up so quickly, I've actually hired a VA, a virtual assistant,
Okay.
to help me out with some of the behind the scenes work.
Okay.
Because there are just so many components to developing a blog and having social media platforms all kind of integrated. And it's very fast paced. Social media is instantaneous.
It's
So
true.
you've constantly got to be creating content that's relevant, that people want to see.
Okay.
And you've got to be churning it out all the time. So not only are you coming up with ideas, but then you're sourcing the clothing. You're figuring out, okay, how do I want to shoot this? What is the shoot concept? You're shooting it. Then
When
you're
you say
editing
shooting,
the
you're
photos.
talking about pictures of people in
Picturing,
fashion.
yeah.
Well, so
You
is this what your production assistant takes care of? Doing
No, she does. I do all of the production on the
Well, does
shoots
that include
myself.
you taking pictures of people?
I have somebody that helps me
You do?
with taking
Okay.
the pictures.
Well, what's your staff look like? How many?
Well, do you count my husband in that?
Well, if he's in it, yeah. You tell me.
He helps with some of the pictures. He's
Great.
actually
So
gotten
he does
pretty
photography?
good. He does not.
Well, how does he help?
Well, he's gotten pretty decent. Initially I forced him to take pictures of me for this.
Oh, so he is helping with the
And
pictures.
now he's gotten pretty good. I also
Okay.
have another gal, her name's Karoon. She's with Spruced Media.
Okay.
And she helps me out. And then, like I was saying, I have a virtual assistant who helps integrate some of the social media platforms like Pinterest and
Okay.
Facebook.
Okay, I know what Pinterest is, or Pinterest. I didn't know how you pronounced it.
Pinterest, yeah.
Pinterest, okay. Okay, so basically, how often do you put it out? Every week? Every day?
Well, I'm posting every day on social media
Wow.
on those different platforms.
Okay.
And they say with blogs you should be posting a minimum of 2 to 3 times a week.
Okay.
And right now I'm just posting the 2 because I'm just starting all this up and I want to get
Yeah, it's going to take time to see how it's
right. I
playing
want
out
to create
for
a
you.
workflow that makes sense and a balance for
Of
my
course.
family life.
Oh,
So.
exactly. And I assume, my guess is that just picturing in my mind that when you're home doing it, your children are probably sitting right next to you. Mommy, what are you doing? Isn't that nice?
Sometimes, and we also have a babysitter, and my oldest is in kindergarten.
Okay, but well, do you have the babysitter at the house when you're working just to keep your kids out of your hair? Wow. Okay.
I do.
Well, most of my babysitters, I freaked them out. They didn't want to. They didn't want to stay with. They wouldn't. My parents couldn't pay them enough. I was too out of control.
Oh, were you one of those wild little boys jumping
that's
on the
totally
couch?
just understating the total craziness of my early life. We did have one babysitter that's actually we're still friends with. She came to my 60th birthday party last month. She's 70 now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but that was But in your case, and I'm sure, but my guess is that when your children are grown up, your babysitters will still be friends with them as well.
I think so. They've become like family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you're inundated very well in your neck of the woods, and it's a wonderful thing. All right, so
Thank you.
What is so how many blogs have you put out so far? You just said you started it last week, right?
Well, I've got the one blog, and
Okay.
so far there's content dating back from July.
Okay.
So when you put out a blog, you don't want to just be like, oh, I put this up last week. You need to create content that makes it robust and interesting.
So you have to work at it. You have
Right.
it's like baking a cake. You can't just throw icing in and batter together and throw it in the oven.
Well, anything worth doing well
Exactly.
is work, right?
It takes a little work.
So,
it takes a little time. Yeah.
So, this past in September, I was working on posts that were backdated for July because I wanted people to visit the site and I wanted there to be things that were interesting and useful to them.
Yeah, you didn't want to think you were just starting out. You wanted to think you had experience,
Right.
even though you are just starting out.
Right.
Okay.
So there's content dating back to July, anything from beach cover-ups to how to organize your closet for fall.
Awesome.
My most recent post yesterday was about Thanksgiving outfits, which actually this dress
Okay.
is one of my suggestions. So I feel like if you would like to dress up for Thanksgiving wearing like a plaid dress or something like that, that would work. Or you could go with like a cozy sweater and jeans, but a sweater dress is something that is kind of right in the middle.
Okay.
It's comfortable, it's cozy, but it's a little dressier than
You
jeans.
obviously have a handle on what you're trying to present to the world, and that's great.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I love fashion, and I
course.
want to share
You
that.
wear it well. As
It's
I'm sitting here, I can see that.
Thank you, my creative outlet.
Well, guess what?
So-
We're under 5 minutes.
Really? How
Yeah.
that went so fast?
Because I make the time go by,
Oh
and it's
my
always fun.
gosh.
So, Jamie, what I want you to do is in the remaining time we have, there's look at the red light. Give shouts out
Okay.
to people. They're going to
Which
see the
camera
show.
do you
Start with
prefer?
your husband, children, and family, and And anyone else, you can mention Lenny if you want. I want to get him on the show. I've just about had every big comedian on the show but him.
Oh, well, Lenny's awfully busy. Is he even in town right now?
He's around. He's
Yeah.
always saying, he told me 2 years ago he'd do the show. He just never has.
Right, right.
Yeah, but that's up to him, I guess. But in the meantime, go for it, and then we'll wrap the show up.
Okay, so I'm just here talking with Harrison about my blog. That's JaimieTucker.com, Jaimie, Tucker.com. And it's been a labor of love. It's been a lot of hours. As most of you probably know, social media is a whole animal of its own. I've spent hours working on developing content, engaging with others, helping them grow. I think one of the things that makes my blog unique is that I try to depict stylish options for women that are relatable and easy. So I am that mom sometimes that's, hasn't even brushed her hair in the child, drop-off line at school. But I want to be able to elevate myself. I mean, lipstick won't save the world, but let's face it, it feels good to have a nice pair of jeans on or to have a nice pair of boots. So I try and present options for women that show how easy it can be just to improve your day a little bit in that way. And I'm also working on building a community of like-minded women through a feature I have on the website. Every week it's called She Styled It, where I work with another blogger to style a piece of clothing from their wardrobe, and they style it 2 to 3 different ways. And it's just a way to network and showcase other people and what they're doing, because I feel like when people work together, it's a win-win. So if you're interested in checking out my blog, again, it's Jaimie, Jaimie, Tucker.com, and you can find me on Instagram as well, and that's JAIMIE_Tucker, TUCKER.
Great job. Well, great job. I hope you had fun with me tonight.
Harrison. I did. It was lovely to meet the legend.
I'd argue if I could. and ditto to you, kiddo.
Thank you.
Well, listen, great job, Jaimie. And you know what? If you know, just before we wrap it up, I just want to tell you, if there's any people in your fashion industry, acting, modeling, that want to do the show, please spread the word about Topic Time. I get a lot of guests to word of mouth.
Right.
And hopefully, we'll get some more people like that from yours telling them, and hopefully them seeing our show.
Perfect.
So are you ready to wrap it up?
I'm ready to wrap it up.
Okay, great job, Jaimie. Thanks, folks. Watch Topic Time. Watch more episodes. We'll see you next time. Take care. Thanks. Here we go. That's right.